My name is Nancy Lowry. I'm Director of the Innovation Center at the Medical Center of the Americas Foundation. And I want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon for Tech Tuesday. Tech Tuesday is hosted by the Medical Center of the Americas Innovation Center, which is a hub for entrepreneurs and innovators. We provide resources, education, connections, and collaborative workspaces for startups looking to launch and grow technology-focused ventures. And you can always check out our website, mcaamericas.org, if you want more information about the Innovation Center. So Tech Tuesday is our monthly series where we feature innovators, entrepreneurs, and resource experts in a discussion of topics that are relevant to startups. And it's a variety of topics from medical device manufacturing to remote work. So this year, 2021, we're focusing on sources and pathways to innovation through a series called Fueling Innovation. And we have the year scheduled and it's up on our website. Once again, mcaamericas.org, so you can check it out there. And before I turn you over to Alberto Ponce, who's a member of the Innovation Center team and who is the driving force behind this year's Tech Tuesdays, a few housekeeping items. So please should keep yourself on mute during the discussion, and any questions you have, put in the chat box. We will try to get to all the questions towards the end of the program. And also, this program is going to be recorded and will be placed on our YouTube channels and distributed via the website and other platforms. So if I'm going to now turn it over to Alberto to introduce today's topic and our speakers, and thank you very much in advance for attending.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this Tech Tuesday. Now to present our speakers. First, we have Omar Saucedo. He works for Microsoft as a Techspark Community Engagement Manager. He has worked for over 10 years working, designing, implementing innovation strategies in automotive industry, business, academy, government, everything in the Borderplex region. So he has quite an extensive background on promoting technology. Ivan Gris works for Spectrum Charter Communications. He is a mixed reality researcher. Ivan has worked as the CTO and CEO of Boost Human, which is a startup that leads technological efforts to develop VR and AR industrial solutions for simulating, training, manufacturing, logistics, and quality assurance. Ivan has also co-founded Immersion, which is focusing on storytelling through VR for education and entertainment. So thank you, Omar and Ivan, for joining us for this Tech Tuesday. And to start off this conversation, I would like to ask you the main topic of this talk. What is technology for you?
Thanks, Alberto. and thanks for organizing these type of events. I think these events are super important to raise the awareness of our region about these topics, which I truly believe is the only way for us to improve our quality of life. And that's a very interesting question. The other day, I had a chance to send some entrepreneurs, some tech-based entrepreneurs with some important leaders in the region, and they truly have innovative solutions and technological solutions that they were offering to these leaders. And when they were offering these solutions, one of the leaders just asked them, "Hey guys, so what you're offering is an artificial intelligence solution, right?" And they say, "Yeah, for sure. And tell me, what is artificial intelligence?" And so they got stuck with answering that, no? And so they started to say, well, so many things, but at the same time, it could be this or it could be that. And sometimes I think it's very important to make reflections on the meaning of the concept. So for me, nowadays technology is a language, no? Technology, even though it is a set of knowledge and techniques or ideas, and just to convert the ideas into actions in order to improve our life, to create new solutions. I think that could be the whole meaning of technology for me. Technology nowadays, I would summarize it as a language, no?
Okay, Ivan, what do you think?
Sure. So thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me. And like Omar said, thanks for bringing this event up and running. So maybe I completely agree with what Omar was saying about the definition of, hey, what's artificial intelligence, or basic concept, and then people get completely lost. As I was just mentioning, I teach a couple of college courses, and this happens all the time. But even to us, right? Even to instructors when somebody comes with a question like that. But that said, I think from a more pragmatic point of view, or maybe more academic point of view, technology to me it's basically applied science, right? It's tools, methods, skills, you name it, but it's science in the end, that you're taking it out of the classroom, you're taking it out of the research setting, and you're applying it to solve a problem or to improve an existing method, an existing procedure. So obviously there's a lot of innovation involved into that, a lot of creative thinking, and a lot of interdisciplinary research, and it's a very, very broad topic, right, that covers all sciences.
Yeah, and by those definitions, both of those definitions, technology is huge. It encompasses a lot of areas. So just to narrow it down for this talk, we're talking about fueling innovation and innovation in a business setting. So how would you focus technology as a driver of business? How do you see that manifesting itself as a primary fuel of innovation?
Well, I'd like just to make a quick reflection that innovation only happens when value is delivered, no, to a customer. And nowadays, I see really, really hard that a value proposition can be delivered without using technology, or that the proposition itself has value if it doesn't include some type of technology. I see very hard that entrepreneurs or organizations can accomplish these innovation requirements, new solutions creation, if we don't have a type of technology. And let's remember that technology is not only hardware, or is not only software. No, technology can be a method, or process. Technology can be a model. And I have seen a lot that in our region, one great opportunity, and probably we'll talk a little bit more ahead, but it's to check what's happening with our business models, no? And for me, that's a type of technology, no? Or it's a way also to include technology, but definitely it is a primary driver, no? To ensure that we can deliver innovation, no?
Okay. Ivan, do you have something
Right.
implementing? Yeah.
I mean, to add briefly, right? So if we use technology to improve on something, to make something that we couldn't make before, to do something faster than what we could do before, to make more of something that we were doing before, it's not necessarily innovation. It's often confused with making something completely new, groundbreaking, disrupting, right? And the truth is that a lot of old industries benefit from innovation, right? And you see that all the time. New or some underdogs or some businesses emerging as the top leaders later on in their field, because they change something of the part of, this has always been done this way and it's working. But somebody asks the question, well, how can we make this work better for us? And those who answer that question successfully are the ones that jump ahead, right? And it's not an easy question, and it requires a lot of trial and error. But definitely that's a driver.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely. It's hard to imagine a business that if it doesn't keep up with the times and develop technology, it stagnates. It's left behind. I would follow up that question with, well, okay, maybe a business to keep up with the times would have to adopt technology, but where's the line between using the technology as the value versus using it as a tool for which we create the value? I mean, the technology, we give it the value that we use. It's not like that technology has value for its own. So how can we balance like ignoring technology versus over relying on technology? What do you think?
That's a very good question. You want to start, Ivan?
Sure. Sure. I don't think you can completely ignore technology, no matter what you're doing. And over reliance, I don't think, the way the question is phrased, and to be fair, I had time to think about some of these things, right? But when we think of technology over reliance, we often think of things like, well, why should I learn to add or subtract if there's a calculator, right? And then the teacher saying, well, but you won't have a calculator next to you for the rest of your life. And then smartphones come along and then you actually do, right? And so that's kind of what comes to mind when you think of technology over reliance. But to me, and especially in the business perspective, right, if you are not in the business of creating technology or technological solutions for other businesses, which is kind of what I was, so that's a bit of an exception. But if you're not on that area, your over reliance on technology comes from, in my opinion, the balance between investing in improving and finding better methods, better skills, better technologies, better hardware, better ways of doing something, because it's always a risk, right? These things fail all the time. You have to try to see if it works or if it doesn't. And so to me, the over reliance comes more in the way of, I'm putting a lot of my budget or a lot of my resources or my human capital, assuming that this new innovation that I'm doing is going to work, right? And it's easy to get carried away, to visualize it, to imagine it. It all sounds really good, but as every engineer will tell you, from the drawing board, from the design board to the execution, a lot of things fall apart, right? And you discover a lot of other things. So definitely, I don't think that you can ignore it, but the balance should come between what resources you allocate to moving forward and to maintaining your operation at a somewhat stable level. So, and just really, really briefly, but for example, just to tie it in, right now I'm a virtual and mixed reality researcher for Charter Communications, as you said, right? And this is a cable company. They provide internet services, across 40-something% of the US, but they do have a small innovation department. So it won't make them or break them, but I'm part of that team where we try really risky stuff, really fun stuff that unfortunately I cannot say much about. But they will never fall down for trying these things. I mean, their core business and everything is maintained, and they're just looking to be prepared for the times. So that's my take on it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I agree with Ivan. I say it's very hard for a business to ignore technological development, innovation, etc. If we want to, become competitive, create new type of solutions, etc. And I wish we were on the other side, not like over depending more on technology. But I would say the answer is going to be given by the market needs. what your customers are asking you to develop, and the type of business that your customers would like you to offer. And I will also add that a very important component for this is, understanding how much we are enabling our collaborators or talents within organizations, for them to also help us not only decide, but also create, these type of solutions that the customer or the market is demanding from us. Like I said before, I wish we were on the point where we were, let's say, over depending on technology. Just if that meant to us that this depends on our people too, on our collaborators, because they are the ones that are, handling, they are the ones that are using, they are the ones that are creating these technologies. No?
Yeah, definitely. But at the end of the day, technology still serves business, and business serves customers. So it's always has to be customer centric. And on that point of view, how in the order of importance on business areas and all that, how would you rank like technology as a driver for innovation in business, like as opposed to customer service and other areas that the business should also focus on?
Want to start, Ivan?
Sure. So areas like customer service, there are a need, right? You can't operate without customer service if your business is offering a service, obviously, right? So whereas technology, it's a complement, right? So for example, you can use technology to improve your customer service, right? And in fact, there's a lot of people, even here in the region, who are doing or playing with ways on doing just that. So I think that it's not necessarily a balance of should I do this or should I do that, but whether do I need to improve areas like customer service or like production or like a new product, right? Product design, other things like that. And then it would depend on where your need is at. Do you need to expand your offerings? Do you need to expand your user base? Do you need to expand your production rate? And different technologies will complement that, right? But it's not like you should replace one with the other. You should just focus on your need, and depending on your plan, right? It could be your immediate need or your need that you're anticipating for the next 2, 3, 5 years, so that you're prepared when you reach that point. Because especially these types of changes don't happen overnight. So you want to kind of phase it out across to have it ready whenever you actually want it to.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think more than a ranking, because the ranking of the process would depend on the type of business and customer, etc. But if I had to choose one, I would focus on improving internal processes, like checking how modern our business model is and how much our business model is interacting with new technologies in order to empower our talent. No, so I would have different questions about this for our companies, our entrepreneurs. So one question would be, for example, how well communicated are our collaborators, thanks to technology, or how much our collaborators empowered to create new solutions, more profit, because they have the freedom, they have the time for doing this thanks to the technology. For example, how we are becoming, faster to deliver solutions to our customer thanks to technology, for instance. So I would say it would depend a lot, I mean, the type of business, the type of process, but definitely I would suggest not to focus on the internal one, so that our organization, is it's more flexible, it's faster, it's more innovative thanks to technology.
Okay, yeah. And you both touched a really important point there, which is implementing new technology. I mean, keeping up with new technology. And I mean, the rate at which new technology is developing, and there's always some new update or new shiny thing out there. How can we keep up as business, as entrepreneurs, as innovators, or simple students? At one moment we study a technology, at the next it's already obsolete, or there's a next big thing, and there's a new learning curve. How do you keep up with technology?
I like to start with that one, Ivan. So how to be updated, how to upkeep technology. I would like before answering that question, I'd like to tell you that something that I have learned from our region is that we have a big opportunity, a big challenge, and that is to make our business leaders more aware of what technology can do for our businesses here. That's very important. So I think we should help raise awareness, not for our local business leaders, entrepreneurs, of what technology can do for our businesses, no? Like a first answer, no? And then checking what's going on with that business model I mentioned in regards of the technology, and then understanding, what is the type of technology that we need, or what is the type of technology that we're currently using, and what is the need that we have to update those technologies. Can we update those technologies using our own people, creating technology ourselves? Do we have to buy technology? Whatever the answer is, I think it's very important that the top management of the organization has a strategic plan, no, that is part of the business model to answer this question. So I think it would be a short, sighted answer, not just to say something specific from just an area of the business. I think to answer that question, we would have to understand how updated is the business model of the organization, and then deciding if the technology we're using is okay, it's obsolete, if we can just keep on working that ourselves, if we have to buy new technology, etc. But I'm going to insist on this answer, because I wouldn't like this talk just to become one more talk, no? I would like to let's say challenge ourselves to continue to talk about this, and to keep interacting, so that we can really bring some help to our region. And one key item for me is the one that I already mentioned, is how much we are enabling our collaborators within organizations, because at the end, whether we buy technology, whether we have to buy it, or whether we have to develop it ourselves, sometimes we don't really take advantage of technology. I have seen that many of our companies, in both cases, companies that are buying technology or are developing it, not all the time they take advantage from it 100%, and that's because we need to work more with our collaborators. So I don't think changing this is going to be easy. I think we can improve that as long as we keep ourselves communicated, the ones that we are involved in the technology ecosystem in the Borderplex, that we can contribute to make, again, more of this awareness of checking the business models and the type of technology that we're using in our region.
Okay, so Ivan, if I may, just before your answer, just to summarize a bit of what I understood from you, Omar, is awareness is extremely important. Being aware of the technologies, spreading awareness, and also being aware of your own resources. So that's kind of like the first step. We can assume that, yeah, we're not gonna have all the technology, we're not gonna be up to date, but the first step to implement, to take advantage of technology, is to be aware of it, yeah, of ourselves, of the region, and all that. That's great.
Even what we have in the region, I've seen, and I have gone through some cases where companies from our region, they are trying to buy technologies from other places when we have technology here and we don't even know. Mm-hmm. Or we are trying to, and last week I had a case like that. There was a small business that they were trying to hire someone, to help them deliver a technological solution. And they contacted me and they say, Omar, can you help us identify this profile? And fortunately, I knew the company. I told them, but you already have that person within your organization. And then these guys were like, what? We don't. Yeah, you don't know enough, no, your internal organization or culture, etc. but that awareness is very important, no? Like your business model, your organization, your needs, etc. What we have in the region, I would recommend to explore what we have in the region. And then definitely, we don't have something in our ecosystem internally, etc. Within our organizations, our community, our region, we can look for that somewhere else, no? But I think there's a lot of possibilities and current answers, no, to the question, how can we keep ourselves updated in regards of technology? And there are many options that are super accessible, talking about price, no? And sometimes a lot of things can even become free if we do the right search, no? But all this starts with the awareness. That would be my answer.
Great. Ivan?
Right. So my answer has a slightly different take. And before I forget, if you see me typing or something, I'm making notes of what Omar's saying, so I'm not ignoring you, Omar. Quite the contrary.
You're using the WhatsApp, Ivan. Say the truth.
Right, just the computer. Nah. Right, but so Omar's answer is definitely more oriented to how do you keep up with technology in the region, right? And local resources and all that. And he's probably the best person to answer from that perspective. My take on the question, you were asking, well, how do you keep up with the next shiny thing, right? Or with the next thing that's coming out, more in a practical, more focused way, in the sense of, there's 10 new things that are coming out. I could potentially use all of them. And the time it takes me to research, to try them, to use a trial version, to train people, how do you choose? How do you pick your battles? And so the main thing in that respect is choosing your benefit over the cost, right? The next shiny thing, usually it's not the best thing. The example that I really like to use, and I use this teaching often, is the checkout systems from most supermarket stores, right? Walmart, things like that. For decades, it was this little black screen with just typing in things and very, very archaic, completely outdated. Same thing with the unemployment now that we've all seen, written in COBOL language that's been out of use for decades, at least of modern use, right? Legacy systems still exist. So, most people say, well, why didn't they update that? And the reality is because it was so expensive to update and it would introduce so many new errors that if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? So that's part of balancing your act in where you choose to maintain your innovation and keeping up with technology, right? Eventually things happen, like current events where the power grid starts going off, or the job and employment claims cannot be processed, or things like that, to mention popular examples. And that's a good point where you really have to innovate, right? Because your business model, to Omar's point, it's not functional. Anything other than that, they're tools, right? They're gadgets. Sure, you can play with them, you can buy and use. But technology goes much deeper than that, right? It goes much deeper than the application or the new shiny thing. It goes to changing the process, keeping track with the business model. Do you really need this? Are you preparing for the future? Are you preparing for your current situation, right? And so the fact is that you watch the news, you enjoy them, you keep up with the companies that are doing some groundbreaking things, and you imagine things, right? What would I do if I had this, right? And if by imagining that you see yourself in a much better place, then it's worth exploring or at least following up. But if you just see yourself having lots of fun with some really cool toys, then that's what you do, right? You use it, you have fun, but you don't stake your business on the next software, the next hardware.
Yeah, those are really good approaches, I would say, to the new technologies. Again, back to technology, not for its own sake, but for something else, for innovation, for customer, for business. It has to serve a purpose, not just, well, yeah, research for its own sake. and yeah, I really like both takes on it. So I would like to ask you, what are your senses on being a generalist versus being a specialist? And I know that, for example, Ivan, you're specialist on VR and AR and mixed reality and all of that, while in the other hand, Omar has more experience on generalist, like pushing technology on different fronts, on businesses from different industries and all of that. You both come at it at very different angles. So what are your takes on that?
That's a good question. I like Ivan to start because I think my answer has to do with Ivan's. Go ahead, Ivan.
Sure. So right. So this is actually a common problem, especially if you're doing research, right? It's really tempting to go all over the place. And when you do a PhD, for example, you really have to focus, and that's part of the requirement, basically. So, and my take is that specialists, we focus on trying to advance a little thing further than it has ever been taken, right? So to me, a specialist, it's right at the cutting edge. It might not lead to an immediate benefit. It might not lead to improving your current business. On the other hand, it might lead to a great discovery, right? Or it might lead to something great. It's higher risk, and not necessarily higher reward, right? Or I mean, I find it personally rewarding, but talking about a business, it doesn't necessarily lead to something better. But specialist is really cutting edge, really advance the limits of what you can do. Whereas, a generalist, it's the more practical application of technology, right? How does everything come up together? How does it connect to the business model, to your region, to your team, to your capabilities? So I like being a specialist because I get to play with those shiny things, right? Without risking, the livelihood of everyone else in the business. But
Thanks, Ivan. And that's precisely, I was thinking you were going to say something like that. I wish we all could be specialists at the beginning and then become generalists. No? And same thing with businesses. I would love our small businesses, our entrepreneurs to have, this characteristic of being specialists in something. And from there, I'm sure that the business that they're doing is going to take them to become more, generalists. No, but I see it really hard to find just a generalist without really understanding something specific. No, I think it's necessary to have first the part of the specialist and then become generalist. I would say generalist would be more like a strategic figure, no, of a strategic model. But it's like it's hard that you achieve something with a general model if you don't have something to deliver. No, even myself, when I was pretty young, I was a specialist. I was a programmer when I was little, and that took me not to love innovation and technology, and not just because it was a shiny thing. It was because that was the only way that I found that we could really go on, and it was the only real thing that I could see to improve my life. No, so if I had just worked with the possibilities that I had, maybe I would have been, I don't know, I wouldn't have any just simple activity, and I would have made very little income. And so I found that by being a programmer, I could make more money, right? And my life would be much better. And so I had to become a specialist once. And then from that, I started to like, and understand that this could help our population to improve their lives as well. And somehow I became a generalist now. But the same thing I see with small companies. I think, and I see it a lot with entrepreneurs. Let me tell you a little bit about that. A couple of years ago, we created a platform in Chihuahua State. Well, more than that, 4 years ago. Sorry, time goes by so fast. But we created this platform that we call Chihuahua Innova. So it was an opportunity for all entrepreneurs from the state to become part of that platform. And well, last year, I think it was more than 1,000 business proposals that we had gathered with that platform, which all of these proposals were amazing. They were cool. They were great, no? And I think many of them are, strategic possible solutions for our region. However, uh, most of these teams, probably 80% of those teams or a little bit more, they didn't have an idea of how to code or how to develop an input, no, to make their idea come true, etc. And they were very good, many of them, to pitch, or they were very good. I don't know, to describe what was going to happen if they could deliver that, to the market, etc. But in these teams, no one of these guys, the ones that formed the teams, was specialist, you know, to deliver something. And then that was the biggest challenge, because most of our entrepreneurs needed resources. What for? To hire a specialist to help them, move forward, one step forward. And so the ones that had a specialist as part of their teams, they had the chance to move forward faster, no? So I would say that it's a combination, no? Companies should have specialists and should have generalists. But definitely, if I had to choose first step to start, it would be become a specialist, no? And even continue that way would be great, because specialists at the end, like Ivan said, they could become great innovators, no? And bring new type of solutions, etc. I would, if you ask me what I would choose number one. But of course, both are needed.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I like that both of you kind of stress out the importance of the specialist, but also kind of see that there's like a timeline on the businesses. If you're a startup, if you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur now, you really need to be a specialist. You really need, well, more than that, be able to deliver on something specific. As when the business develops, grows, you bring in more people, then the generalist has the bird's eye view, the strategic point of view of the business. So there's like, yeah, again, coming back, awareness, where are you now? Where is your business now? And then you can focus on developing that skill set, technology, whatever, depending on the awareness. That's very, very valuable. And then as a follow-up, I would like to ask, how can, for the audience, how can we make sure to leverage that technology to its greatest potential? I mean, yeah, technology has so much. It's a tool. You can use it for so many things, and beyond your own business, and yeah, as a toy, or as a resource, as a tool. But how can one, what mindset or what checklist one could have to start leveraging the technology to its potential?
Ivan?
Sure. So that's a very difficult question, right? Because everybody has very specific needs, and the question is sort of general. But so a couple of things to consider, right? If you were to look at them in the form of a checklist, which I like checklists, right? But the first thing you would have to identify is what is your bottleneck, right? What is your problem? Not necessarily, because a lot of people start by, companies that are trying to sell technology to you, they'll promote it, right? They'll market it. And so you as a consumer of technology will see it and will say like, yeah, that'd be really cool to have, or really great to have. But if you do that, you're doing it backwards, and you might not be addressing what's most important to your organization, or to you, right? Or to your company. So the first thing would be, to identify the bottlenecks or the problems. Where do you think you could really benefit to improve? Whether technology exists for it or not, right? Just forget about it for a second. And then once you find that out, then you can start exploring solutions, right? What's available? And you can try a lot of them out, right? Especially if you're, and well, I'm in the software business, right? So we get a lot of free trials or small trials for several days that you can use them and measure and evaluate. But doing this is an investment, right? It's an investment in time. It's an investment in research and the people who are using, learning the new tools, the new tech. So you need to be able to measure that, right? What's the impact of doing that exploration? So first, where's the need? Second, what's the impact of just browsing, right? Because browsing is not free. It's not like going to the supermarket and you just look at things around. It will cost you. So you have to pick your balance. And then after that, you would want to make sure that you can leverage whatever solution you found, right? So if you find some technology and it's the greatest technology in the world, but you do not have the personnel to run it, you do not have the specialists like Omar was saying, or things like that, then the technology by itself is going to be pretty useless, right? And it's a pretty poor situation to be at. So, and then after that, I usually recommend rolling the adoption in, not just changing anything overnight, right? Because harsh change might halt your operations, might cause mistakes or confusion. So I recommend rolling it in slowly to see how it's benefiting your organization. Usually the impact at first of any new technology is going to be negative. And we've all seen that. Oh, we use this software for payroll and now they change it with this one and it's horrible. Well, it's not that it's horrible. It's probably that people have been using this for 10 years and now they've had a 1 week of this new thing and they can't find what they're looking for. Obviously, it's horrible, right? But so if you roll it in, you make clear expectations in general, then you'll have a much better result, right? And definitely, do not try to innovate in all fronts at the same time. If you try to adapt a bunch of new technologies at the same time, and one is not working, or one is generating a cascading effect or something like that, it'll be really hard to figure out where the issue really is, and your previous efforts might be wasted. So those are a couple of takes on how to leverage technology in general, in a form of checklist, and how to keep yourself up to date without disrupting too much your operation.
Thanks, Ivan. That's an interesting question and a very broad one. I would focus my answer on two type of reflections. Number one is like that technology we're talking about, what type of technology is and what is that for, why we bought it or why we developed it. And then based on that, naturally, we should have some KPIs, and then we should see how much we are leveraging that technology from the original idea. Talking about a general type of technology, a general business model, what we have seen, and I'm going to mention just an example of one type of technology. We have seen, just like Ivan is saying, that some companies, for example, in the past, they bought ERPs or management systems, thinking that these systems are going to improve the organization, right? Just because they purchased the technology, and then with the time they realized that technology was kind of useless because it was not really, accomplishing what they thought it was gonna do. But checking these cases, we have seen that just like Ivan is saying, that it was not technology that was failing. It was like people that were not prepared to use technology, or the organization itself. So sometimes the leaders were like demanding some type of processes from people that those processes probably wouldn't work with the technology they had purchased before, etc. So this first answer is how can we leverage from technology? Well, we should think, what is the technology that we have and what is that supposed to be doing for us? Talking about the business model or talking about a specific process, maybe. That's like my first answer. My second answer is a little bit more romantic, but I believe in that second answer more. And that second answer is, how much is technology empowering our people to deliver more value to the organization? I love that second answer, but And I believe in that one. And that second answer has to do also with our culture and with our leadership, no? So, so that we can really leverage technology, whatever it is, we need to have a culture that is oriented to doing so. We need to have a culture that has a leadership that is the one that is pushing that to happen, no? Because I have also seen organizations that probably one of the departments of the organization has just purchased an amazing technology, but the leadership is not convinced, no, how to take advantage of that, etc., and it doesn't work. Or vice versa. Sometimes the leader thinks that just by acquiring some new technology, that's going to help the organization, but he never let people, learn the technology or even train people to use that technology, etc. And so it's going to be impossible to, take advantage of the investment. And then, unfortunately, we kind of, burn the concept, no, and that has also happened. Uh, Let me just go back to the case of the ERP. I know a case that there was this company that they invested a lot of money in one ERP, and there was a time when someone offered them a more modern ERP, and this guy was like, "Forget it, we will never buy that again because that doesn't work." And so, I mean, it was not the technology, no, it's like the company itself, again, the business model, the leadership, in general, the organization, no. Um, Going again to my second answer, how much is our people empowered, no? And thanks to the technology, how much free time do I have now? Because we have a technology we implemented, I don't know, some time ago. Do I have more freedom to think? Do I have more freedom to be with my family, achieving my, same KPIs? Do I have more freedom to contribute to the organization thanks to the technology? That would be probably a good measurement. The second one is more romantic, but at the end, personally, that's what I look for. This quality of life, not only considering better economic income, but people having more time to enjoy life thanks to technology. But that's a more romantic answer.
I really like how both of your answers kind of complement each other. I like how Ivan talks about starting with the need and then looking what the need is, and then searching for technology that fits it. And how you, Omar, said, okay, we have the technology, how can we leverage it and empower people? That's both aspects that I really like. And that also shows the contrast between looking for new technology versus optimizing existing technology. Like how can one decide between going one route or the other? And yeah, again, it's based on case by case, and each business is different, and each business model. But yeah, I really like this approach, this complementary approach. And we have a really good question from Nancy Lowry. She asks, within business environment, how has COVID exposed the gaps in equitable use and distribution of technology? And yeah, this is very current. This is very, very enlightening. And I bet both of you have specific insights onto what you've seen.
Wow. Well, that's a hard question that we have to address and understand. And I can speak more for the Juarez side, and we can talk about what happened to education, what happened to the industry, and of course we were not prepared for dealing with something like COVID-19. And somehow before COVID-19, on the Juarez side or Chihuahua side, some years ago, we had started to try to raise this democratization of technology by specialists. We started to build some innovation centers in the city, and we started to communicate a little bit better with the industry, etc., to probably start addressing some of these topics. We had prepared, designed some programs with the industry so that we could be sure that workers from the industry or their families could access to, for example, digital skills training or for example, how they could, be trained for, for getting a better type of job. Or we were doing some programs like, how for education, how our students could be ready for remote education, things like that. Of course, we were starting to do this in Juarez, and we never imagined, no, that COVID was going to hit us, and the truth is that we were not ready for that. Fortunately, we're still here, and I think like with some of the projects that we had designed from before COVID, and now with COVID, I think our government, our industry sector, our education sector, etc., are much more aware of the importance of being ready to use, remote tools, etc. And then the challenge is how we can make those tools accessible to the population. Right now, we're working with some nonprofits in Juarez so that we can, let's say, accelerate or be sure that we can prepare some programs that can be more reachable by our population. We are currently also working with some experiments with people that are on the shores of the city that normally they don't have access to computers or internet, things like that. And we're just trying to showcase their lives so that we can also, bring more sponsors to the table and, try to raise the speed of giving access, not to this technology to our population.
Right. So that's a pretty heavy question, right? Yeah, I'm originally from Juarez, and I can definitely see where Omar's coming with all those pointing out all those efforts and all those subsequent issues or findings. I would say that the question is phrased as how it has exposed the gaps in equitable use and distribution of technology. And I think that it has exposed more gaps in the equitable use and distribution of infrastructure and of education rather than in technology, right? Because you see it where people say, okay, the issue is that now we have to be remote, and so people will have to log in from some device. So immediate solution that comes to mind, and it is reasonable to make this assumption in an emergency state. Okay, here's your device, take it. And then what is really exposed is, oh, but the student or the person doesn't have access to internet, the infrastructure, right? So now they have to move. Oh, but the person has transportation issues to get from point A to point B to do that, right? Or doesn't have the right tool for the job, or they get the tools more in a business perspective. Okay, now everybody is going to work remotely. So here's what we're going to use to work remotely. And nobody knows how to use it because obviously nobody has used it before because previously there was no need, right? So I think it exposes the gaps in the transition and in how we educate people to use technology. And it exposes the assumptions that we often do about what infrastructure is available. And I use the example for students because I've been teaching, but it easily applies to businesses, right? When you're trying to help a business or when you're trying to advise a business, you might just not realize, it's really easy to tell them, yeah, just make a website. Well, yeah, but you might know that there's tools to do it on your own. You might know that there's people you can contact to get this done, but they might not, right? And for them, that might be an unsurmountable problem. So I think that's what's really been exposed. And my take on it is that efforts in both infrastructure and education about how to leverage the technology can be even more important than the distribution of the technology itself.
Okay, yeah, because technology right now is getting to a place where anyone could access it. Well, not like anyone, but anyone with education and infrastructure. Those are like the prerequisites of using technology. So yeah, that shows that where those gaps are lacking, and yeah, I would assume that the biggest point of why COVID showed those gaps is that how fast the transition went, how fast that we all had to lock ourselves indoors and in quarantine, and how fast we all businesses had to adapt to a virtual setting. That's what kind of broke and showed where it is. That's really great insight into our state. There's another really good question, a little bit going back onto the technology evaluation. This comes from Dr. Jorge Garza.
Yeah, Dr. Jorge, that's an interesting question. My answer would be like how to evaluate, innovation or technology. In this case, I would say depends on the process. I mean, ideally, we would like to evaluate the outcome, no? Like of the previous investments, whether those were in an implementation phase or a training and development phase. Ideally, we would love to evaluate what is the outcome of innovation and technology in our region, no, based on different investments that happened in the past. But in order to achieve the outcomes, of course, we will need to see what's happening with the implementation. And in order to measure that, we need to understand how much do our companies invest in training. I would highlight training first, no, and also other things that are important to assess would be how much our companies are investing in tech acquisition or tech development, no? But the number one for me would be how much are they investing in training, no? And overall training that has to do with tech-based skills or tech-based topics, no? I can tell you that right now we are starting to build an index in Juarez, and we are connecting to the region El Paso, like what's happening in regards of the investment that our companies are currently, having, from small companies to medium-sized companies, about these possible KPIs, no? Like, are we investing in training people for technology? Are we acquiring technology? Are we developing technology? How much are we doing that? Because I know that if we want to keep a smart ecosystem of companies and businesses, it's going to be really hard that we keep competitiveness against other regions if we are not investing in training, in technological development, if we're not monitoring that to see what's happening with possible implementations and what's happening with outcomes. Unfortunately, I'm going to speak more as a generalist and as a region. That's a challenge that we have, and we don't have an answer yet. We're in process of building that KPI so that we can start monitoring, to see what's happening. But definitely, before having the numbers or possible information, we know that that's a challenge for our region. Probably Ivan would like to complement the answer with, more specific situation.
Of course, and a more practical approach that definitely doesn't take away from Omar's answer, of course. But general rule to evaluate technology based on investment, on training, development, implementation, especially if you're doing this cyclically. I can tell you by observation what I've seen. My area of work is usually human-computer interaction, and usually it involves changing ways in which people interact with computers. And every time you change something, there are certain things that translate really well into doing these types of changes in technology where you have to train, to adapt, to measure, to evaluate. So we do have a set of formal methods to do this. I know that industrial engineering has similar ones, but for a more useful approach, one rule of thumb that I've generally seen, again, personal experience, I cannot vouch if this is the rule, but about between 10 and 25% of your resource effort focused on continuously innovating, updating. Basically, if you dedicate between 1/10 and 1/4 of your resources, depending on how well your company is, and you can see this in large companies like Google or Amazon, where they have services and they spend most of their time and effort maintaining those services, but they always have these divisions that are coming with this really cool ideas, with really cool products. And then you see those divisions die all the time, or disappear, or show something and then it didn't come out, right? And what does get through, it's usually adopted in a much lower scale, not as explosive, not as visible. But if you keep doing between 10 and 25% constantly, then you don't have to play the catch-up game later, where you all of a sudden are outdated in every aspect and you have to update everything at the same time, and then cause that chaos that we were talking about earlier. And other than that, that combined with the checklist, even if your company is offering in itself technology as a solution. So one of my startups was offering a technology solution that was very cutting edge. But even then, you already have certain processes and certain things that you kind of establish, and you go with the flow, and you dedicate that other little thing to improving, to probing, to specializing, and seeing if you can break that barrier. But I'll leave it at that, because I do realize that we might be running out of time. But hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you, Omar, Ivan. Yeah, we're running out of time. The schedule was from 4 to 5, but honestly, I think that we could keep this conversation going a little bit more. I'm sure I have a couple of more questions that about this technology and all that. So anyone who would like to stay on is of course welcome. This is going, and yes, we'll try to not take too long, more than this scheduling. So then we've been talking about this technology for a while now. So I would like to kind of to go into the conclusion of this event, kind of landed onto the El Paso del Norte region, to focus it on what are the opportunities and the advantages specifically for Juarez, El Paso, Las Cruces, and also ask what would need to happen for the opportunities to present themselves. What's like unique for this region in terms of technology innovation?
Right. Well, first of all, I apologize for taking long, but this is very exciting, and I think we should have more of these conversations with our ecosystem, no? And more than the conversations, to look for ways to, define or identify initiatives that are happening in our region, that I know that we have so many, support them, and try to convert them into something tangible. And that goes to that question precisely. For me, one important opportunity that we have in the region is how to leverage the talent that we have, the youth that we have, the age of our population. We have, I don't know, we are what, 20, we're 20 something, 26, 27 years old average. And not many parts of the world can brag on that, saying that we have a young population, and this population can be enabled to the digital economy era that we're living. I think that's a big opportunity for us. The second one, and that goes also to how to identify opportunities, has to do with our current manufacturing base. No, let's not forget that we have more than, 350 or more international brands located in our region for different economic sectors. We have aerospace, biomedical, we have automotive, we have electronics, et cetera, no? And that's the same thing again. Not every part of the world can say that they have this economic power the way we do, that these companies, they are competing worldwide, and they are producing so much wealth. And we already have those companies here, and these companies, I can tell you that they are probably importing, more than $45 billion a year, no? Solutions that we are not producing locally, solutions that we are not creating locally. I think we have less than 2% of contribution to those imports here, no? So that's a great opportunity. So one answer would be for our entrepreneurs, for our SMEs, for our businesses here. Am I already connected to that supply base manufacturing industry? am I already selling to these companies? I know that many would say, you don't know what you're talking about because we have already tried so many times and we haven't been able to. We haven't reached, to the one that makes decisions, etc. But I would invite these people to try again. Look for key players that we have located in El Paso, Juarez, etc., that are currently trying to open these doors. I'm going to give you the example of the Bridge Accelerator program that we're running in both sides, El Paso and Juarez. We have run this program it's going to be 4 times now. It's been 3 cohorts. And I think we have had great outcomes for companies, small companies that have participated in both sides. They have had the chance to connect with many organizations. They are selling a lot right now. Now we invite, our entrepreneurs or small businesses to find out, initiatives that we have like the Bridge Accelerator in both sides. I would also invite our people to, identify what those 40-something billion dollars are about. No, what is Omar talking about? Is that like technology? Is that products, processes? What type of inputs are we speaking about? Because if we don't know those figures, those numbers, and we don't know what our industry is importing, it's going to be hard that we deliver the solution that they need. On the other hand, we have entrepreneurs or some small businesses that are trying to create or come up with solutions that probably we don't have customers in the region, right? While we have these customers in the regions that probably are not being offered enough solutions. So I think that's one of the greatest opportunities we have in the region. And there's a lot of people that I know that would be happy to invest or to help entrepreneurs or small businesses if they have these solutions for the regional industry. I think that's one of our biggest assets in the region.
Well, definitely Omar is super qualified to answer that particular question. But to wrap it up and to sort of complement, there are a couple of things, and I'm speaking more of the El Paso side now, right? Because I know, for example, that industry is definitely strong across the border, but there's a couple of other things on this side as well. So one of the things that I believe needs to happen is there is a certain disconnect between people looking to find talent, between people looking to implement solutions, between finding the right person or the decision maker, right? And that comes with the region, because even though industry is very prominent here and companies are really large, sometimes it's hard to reach the right person, right? Or the person who can make it happen. And oftentimes those people are outside of Juarez, El Paso, Las Cruces. So one of the things that I think would need to happen to help us out is to bring some of those decision makers to the area, of course. But I've seen a lot of willingness to help. Fort Bliss is here, UTEP is here, both really large organizations with a lot of things going on. The city, both in Juarez, El Paso, even in Las Cruces, we worked on projects on all 3 sites. And people are very willing to invest on this, to bet on technology, on companies trying to improve or to create new solutions. But sometimes it's hard to find the right path or the right approach. And we do have one distinct advantage, and that is that the region has a lot of talent, right? I've had the privilege of being around the world and seen and spoken with a lot of really smart people, and I can tell you that we have that type of people here. So, but we tend to again, maybe speaking from an academic perspective, but we tend to beat out the creativity out of people oftentimes, right? By telling them, oh, so you thought that this was going to work? Well, see, because there's this theory and this model and this checklist and this book, everything is telling you that this is going to fail, right? And that's great if you have the environment and the infrastructure and the ecosystem to help you bounce back and say, oh, now that I know, here's my improved version. Here you go. Something like the Bridge Accelerator is doing, right? But the Bridge Accelerator only has a limited amount of cohorts and only has been around for a certain amount of time. The MCA, only has certain capabilities, certain reach. So we tend to do that with people who are not ready to be hit that way. And so we beat it out of them, right? We said like, oh, maybe not here. Maybe it's the people. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's the resources. So I think we should stop beating out the creativity. We should give people the chance to fail, the chance to experiment, because that's how you learn the most, right? Not by the book. And some of the great ideas also come by not following the book, which, granted, they're exceptional, they're rare, and chances are that it's not going to happen to you particularly, but who knows, right? And who are we to decide? So those are my couple of takes on this. But yeah, plenty of resources. You guys are one. Omar is definitely one, and the local community definitely is engaging, definitely is willing. So that's the best way to start.
Great, and I think that's the best way we could wrap up this this conversation. Thank you so much, both of you. So just to wrap up things, where can the audience find you? Ivan, if you could share us a bit, where can they find you? Your email. I know Omar has a slide that you would like to share, but first, Ivan, if you could share with us.
Yeah, I'm actually posting it on the chat as we speak. So Omar, if you want to share your slide while I post it.
Thanks, Ivan. And I'm just like to second what you said about the resources that we have in the region. I'll recommend to our audience to look for those resources. We have resources in both sides of the border, and we're trying to communicate as much as we can. You already mentioned the MCA, the Borderplex Alliance. I don't know, I'm sorry, because I'm going to leave many key players probably out of my recommendations, but we have a lot of players that we're trying to collaborate so that we can have many, many options in the region. And talking about resources as well, I'd like to share with you guys, some resources that we have from Microsoft. And I realized that just because the resources are there, it doesn't mean that we are using them. And I have seen people that they have asked me, where can we find this type of learning tools, etc. And that's why I want to share this with you. So the first one is I invite you to visit. Just look for that in the Explorer, Microsoft Learn, and then you will find thousands or hundreds of different programs related to new technologies, etc. that you can learn, or that we can learn, and we can also share to our collaborators or friends. And I invite you to do that, because the better equipped we are with digital skills, the better society we're going to have. No, thanks for showing that slide. If we can go to the next one, another slide that I want to share with you. It's I love this second slide. This is if you look for the Microsoft Business AI School, you're going to find this website that would allow different sectors, different areas, to start preparing ourselves to the AI era. And so we can learn AI from very basic knowledge to advanced knowledge. Everything is there. Most of the knowledge is for free. And I would love our companies, entrepreneurs, our population to access this type of tools and to start becoming more equipped with these programs. If you go to the next, please. And the third one is from LinkedIn. So right now there are 10 roles that LinkedIn is promoting. So these 10 roles are the roles that were identified in general as the most demanded role by companies, on a general basis. And we can access to these top 10 roles. So we can find information in Spanish or in English, and we can, learn these roles. And that's going to happen in, few weeks. So in few weeks, probably I can become a data analyst, or I can become an IT administrator, or I don't know, I can improve one of my digital skills by accessing these tools. And these tools are for free. We can use them ourselves, share them with our family, collaborators, etc. And finally, you can reach me out here, omar.saucedo@microsoft.com. Hopefully we can decide what to do together so that we can strengthen our region, our region's competitiveness. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, both Ivan, Omar. And just to finish off, thanks everyone for joining in on this conversation. Sorry again that we took a little bit more of your time. And I would like to end promoting that next month, Tech Tuesday, is going to follow on this theme of fueling innovation. Next theme is going to be on resources. Fueling innovation through resources. We're going to talk with Fab Lab El Paso and Ciudad Juarez, and how can we leverage resources and what we have disposed, what we have at hand to fuel innovation. So that's also going to be a very exciting talk, and hopefully we'll see you all next month. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Ivan, Omar, thank you.
God bless you all. Thanks so much.